This is APYouthNet.
Welcome to the APYouthNet Talk Show, where we look at some of the key issues regarding youth employment in Asia and the Pacific. Today, there are an unprecedented 1.2 billion people aged between 15 and 24. In its 5-year action agenda, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon committed itself to working with women and young people. To coordinate the work of the United Nations on youth, he has appointed an envoy on youth, Mr. Ahmad Alhendawi, who joins me from his office in New York. Ahmad, thank you very much for joining us today. You were appointed by the Secretary General in January of this year, following several posts and advisory roles on youth with the League of Arab States, the World Bank, UNFPA, and Save the Children. You also previously co-founded the All Jordan Youth Commission and the International Youth Council in New York. Now, based on your experience, what is the most critical issue affecting young people today? And according to you, is the world doing enough?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be with you on your show, and thanks for hosting me. I think it just look into the unemployment figures to start with. They are daunting in all standards, and just look into the fact that there are 73 million youth unemployed today or out of school and training, and 400,000. And just I would like to speak about the 400,000 over the 73 million, because sometimes we tend only just to say the number 73 million and forget that it's 73 million and 400,000 unemployed youth. As a first maybe envoy on youth issues, I try to focus on how we can bring the UN system together in a united way, in a harmonized way, to deliver for young people. I have been mandated to do this by the Secretary General of the United Nations. And then I thought, I put this question in front of me, how we can make the United Nations improve its programs and have a more focus on youth issues together. So I started with the fact that we need to increase youth participation with the United Nations, and that's the first principle. For having young people participating with the UN country teams at the national level in designing the programs and sharing their concerns and ideas, and also at the regional level. And we will soon introduce a United Nations panel on youth to advise and to advocate with the United Nations for the right of young people. Now, this is the first principle, to increase youth participation with the UN. A second, of course, is the need for facilitating multi-stakeholder partnerships. And for me to address youth issues today and to address to invest in youth opportunities, the opportunity that young people can offer to their communities, we need a multi-stakeholder partnerships. One party alone is not enough. The governments alone, they cannot do the job without the help of private sector, academia, media, and the United Nations, of course. So partnership and facilitating multi-stakeholder partnerships is extremely important here. A third principle is the need for advocacy and to advocate for stronger youth participation. And now, while we are talking about post-2015 development agenda, I have been doing all advocacy work and producing material just to encourage all the players in this process to pay more attention and make sure that youth will be prioritized in the post-2015, so we can ensure a progressive and visionary post-2015 development agenda. To end with, to do all that, you need more harmonization, which is the fourth principle in my work plan, harmonizing the work of the United Nations at all levels. I'm glad to join the UN with having such a great network of interagency network in youth development, bringing all UN agencies together. Very important to mention here that I'm coming with instrument as well that the UN is providing for you. The Secretary General asked all the UN system to build a system-wide action plan in youth. In other words, what does that mean? It means one work plan on youth issues for all UN agencies to come together and plan together. I'm hoping that we will move this to the regions at the national level. So these are the four principles which are very complementary to each other.
Now, Ahmad, let me ask you precisely on that. You're talking about the system-wide action plan on youth. You referred also in the past quite often on the regional coordination mechanisms which the Asia-Pacific region is actually taking a lead on. My question to you is, these are all plans, and it's all good and important to plan, but how confident are you that they will lead to concrete actions on the ground for young people?
They are very much linked to each other. I mean, without having good structure, without having good networks, without having people talking to each other and people coming and pooling resources together, you will not be able to influence change and to do programs. My focus now, how we can build in the first year all the structures that we need and put it in place. I'm glad, I commend your leadership in making the regional network this much strong, because this will facilitate the dialogue, the discussion, and the programming, which is most importantly. And young people can find a counterpart to speak with at the United Nations at the regional level. So this is a step. This is not a goal. I will never say that having regional networks or national networks is the accomplishment or the achievement that we are seeking. This is a mandatory step just for us to make sure that we are approaching youth issues in the right way, and that we are coming together, pooling resources and learning from each other. Without this, I doubt that we'll be able to make an impact for change.
Absolutely. Now, I want to come back to another issue, because as you know, the Arab Spring events already 2.5 years ago were largely attributed to the question of youth unemployment. Now, we are 2.5 years later, and unfortunately, we're still seeing extremely high youth unemployment rates. We're seeing unemployment rates of more than 29% in the Middle East for young people. We're seeing the same over 13% in Asia and the Pacific. So this is obviously a very strong concern, not only for the Middle East, but for other regions, and of course for Asia Pacific. So from your experience as the envoy, but also from your experience of coming from the Middle East, having worked in the Middle East, what do you think that we have learned or that we should learn that could help perhaps prevent any such events from happening again?
One golden rule here: listening. Governments should listen to their young people. They should listen to their concerns, aspirations. They should listen to the facts of the unemployment figures. And they should read critically, actually, the reports that the United Nations produce, because it offers a room for improvement in policies, and especially with the issue of unemployment. I here would like to commend the work file with the recent report, which I think provide a very good, insightful orientation for how we can address youth employment, offering very good solutions, and I would say variety of options for governments and all concerned parties and stakeholders to learn from.
Well, thank you, Ahmad. And actually, you refer here to the Global Employment Trends for Youth report, which we also call the Get Youth Report 2013, just released, and which also builds on the International Labour Conference resolution on youth employment from last year. But now I want to come back on a separate point, which is something that I think that you have been very keen on in the recent past, which is the idea of innovation. You have been calling for young people to innovate. Can you tell us a little bit about why this push for innovation, and how do you think that it relates to youth employment?
First, it becomes like a kind of correlation now, innovation and young people. I mean, just whenever you think of innovation, you think of young people and the other way around. So I think youth are the driving force now for innovation. When it comes to innovation, and I like to use the term economic empowerment more than the term employment. And I have a reason for that, because I believe it's almost impossible to create enough jobs for everyone. But now it's time for people to innovate and to move from being job seekers to job innovators, and to invent their jobs and to find ways to become young entrepreneurs. I think the term economic empowerment offers us with a more wider scope of thinking to think about financial solution, financial services for young people, for young entrepreneurs, to look to the legal frameworks, how to help young entrepreneurs and innovators to come up with their own businesses and to run their companies and to establish, their own job opportunities and for others. So the discourse is a bit shifting from only talking about unemployed young people who are seeking jobs and waiting others to create them these job opportunities, to empower young people today to realize that they do have the potential to create their own job opportunities, to become innovators and to contribute to some pressing issues in their communities and societies and address this in an innovative way.
I think you're absolutely right. Now, we're coming to the end of the show, but before we do so, I was wondering if perhaps you had any message that you would like to send out there to the young people listening to us, or to governments, to workers, to employers who are all really very tightly linked to this issue of youth employment.
I think now the United Nations is coming with a new momentum for youth issues, and it's investing, and it's clear, and evident that the UN is want to prioritize work on youth issues. The message here that we cannot do this alone. We need basically everyone. We need private sector, the governments, the academia, the media, the youth organizations, and all concerned to come together. The United Nations has been always successful in providing venue for everyone to debate. And then we need to link these debates and these conclusions to actions and to translate this to financial allocation, to contribution, and then to commitment. Our commitment is time to translate it to actions.
Well, that will be the word of the end, and it's a very positive one. So thank you so much, Ahmad, for joining us today from your office in New York. And thank you very much for joining us on the APYouthNet Talk Show. Please remember to log on the apyouthnet.ilo.org for more on youth employment in Asia and the Pacific. From the ILO Regional Office, I'm Matthew Koniak. Thank you, and see you next time.
This has been an APYouthNet production.